So one of the things that I think, companies have a huge opportunity to do is what Spotify is doing with Bad Bunny. Spotify is bringing Billions Club Live to Asia for the first time in Japan, with Bad Bunny headlining a one-off invite-only show for the top listeners in Tokyo on March 7th. It's leveraging Bad Bunny breaking another record. He now has 28 tracks in Spotify's Billion Club. He's the number one global artist in 2025 for the fourth consecutive year. The Super Bowl got 128.2 million views across all platforms. What I thought was really interesting here is what they're doing with their own internal data, right? Like this is Spotify saying like, we have these numbers, we track the users, we know what people are listening to, and then making the concert great. Who should be invited? Well, let's make it the top listeners of like the artists, right? They're the ones that should be emphasized here, which also brings it back to Spotify, right? Because now it's like, well, do you want to have an opportunity to go to one of these like really cool events? Well, you got to listen to your favorite artist on the platform more, right? They haven't gotten to the point where they're doing like exclusive concerts or ticket sales. That's still kind of like in Ticketmaster's domain, much to the chagrin of most everybody, I think, because people still really hate Ticketmaster. But this is kind of an avenue that they can take, going forward. And I see it as a way of them realizing, hey, here's what we can be doing to keep people on our platform. They're starting to have people move over to Apple, even though, Spotify is like the main place that people like listen to. This is also on top of their Spotify Wrapped every year, losing quality and losing the attention from users. Even we talked about that here.
You've
Martin, have you
just given
seen this?
me, yeah,
Mhm.
you just given me an amazing use case for my open claw. So my open claw
Mm.
is called Frank. So I'm going to tell Frank spawn up 1,000 of his sub-agent friends, get onto Spotify, listen to the favors for the next month, and get me into that top 1%. But
That's funny. Yeah.
I think what's interesting here though is that, like, I mean, look, what Spotify have done isn't rocket science, right? I
Hmm.
mean, they've looked at their data, they are rewarding their top 1%, but thousands of brands have this data sitting in their
Hmm.
CRM doing nothing, and they choose not to use it. Like, there's a difference between gating an event and calling it exclusive and actually finding your true fans and giving
Hmm.
them an experience, because what Spotify have done is from the 1% who actually love them, and
Hmm.
they're only going to love them more. And the other 99% are going to be jealous that they're not in the 1%. And they're going to have people like me working out how to use their open claw to get into that 1% for the
Hmm.
next time Bad Bunny's in Tokyo. So
Hmm.
I,
Yeah.
I I think what they're doing is great, and but I just think more brands are sitting on gold mines and are not using their CRM data.
Yeah, definitely. So this is a huge lesson, I think, for brands. It's like, what are you doing with that data? You have it there. You know what your users are looking at. You know what they're searching for. You know your top products. You know what people are interested in. But I think another thing here is like where you're rewarding your actual fans, right? I think I see it every so often. People complain that like discounts or referral codes only really support either new time customers or people that are leaving, right? At
Yeah.
which point it's just like, what are you doing here, right? Like you need to start rewarding your actual fans with exclusive things. Your email programs should become reward programs for
Mhm.
your top users, right? Which helps you create like a better cycle for open rates and like getting people to click and interact with both your email, but then your website and your product sites, like so that like you're not just chasing new users all the time, right? Most of us have the data on like what the lifetime value is for like our consumers, and that's without us helping them. And then maybe this changes the amount that you need to be doing sales, right, and giving discounts, right, where it's like maybe you're not giving sales to everybody and diminishing the value of your product, but only to your top users who are going to buy your
Mhm.
product anyway but should be rewarded for it. We need to flip and invert how we're treating current users. That's better served with like your current consumers and having them then become like the megaphone for your brand to bring you in new users.
Yeah, I mean, like in Ireland, we've a saying that like a quiet priest never got a parish. So it's like, you know, brands only look at like the customers making noise, either customers they want to acquire to grow or customers that
Hmm.
are threatening to leave and churn, but never
Hmm.
the one that's just like sleeping kind of and doing good business in the middle. They're
Hmm.
kind of forgotten most of the time. But that's where your real customers are, and the ones that
Hmm.
deserve to be rewarded. Like banks are terrible for this. But banks like will give
Hmm.
discounts at higher rates to new customers,
Right.
but their existing customer for 10 years is getting the old crappy rate.
I mean,
So
cable companies, right? Phone
yeah.
companies, companies like that, where it's like, you only really get a discount when you threaten to leave. It's very stupid. Something else to think about here is like, what are those moments that you can glom onto, right? So Spotify here is jumping onto the fact that like Bad Bunny just had his Super Bowl performance, that he's still on the world tour, that he's like the most popular artist of 2025, and then using that to then catapult themselves into this like
Mhm.
new place where people are paying attention because it's like, Bad Bunny. So it's like using those moments to also insert yourself and give yourself more attention than you would have done otherwise.
I worked at something like this way back. We'd taken over sponsorship of an international rugby competition. We were a digital bank and we
Hmm.
didn't have huge budgets because we were a challenger bank taking on larger ones. And one of the strategies we had was like our core strategy was always the customer, being direct, straight talking, getting to the customer. So we aimed at rugby being more direct, and we created at that time, it was Twitter, a leaderboard on Twitter,
Mm.
based on the fan engagement within the competition. So if we were in the stadium, you got points if you tweeted with the right hashtag. You got points if you posted a photo. You got more points. So we were aiming to find like the top 20 fans of the competition in the grassroots, and then if you were top of the league table, we allowed them to present man of the match live on
Mm.
TV, any games. And then in the final, the winner got to come to the final, experience a VIP trip. But the results we got was that we were one of the fastest recognized brand names in the sport compared to any other sponsor that
Hmm.
came in. And it's kind of just doing that, like just literally going
Yeah.
like, who are the people that really matter? And let's try and focus on them as opposed to the people who don't care, trying to convince
Yeah,
them to
yeah, yeah,
care.
yeah. Exactly. No, this is great. So many ideas here.
Yeah.
The other things that to think about is like, can they have shoppable live streams? Is there like limited co-branded merch? Merch is super cool right now. Are there local brand collabs that they can be doing at the like events? Are there creator co-hosted watch parties from like influencers
Mhm.
online? There's going to be all these other things that you can do going forward.
Yeah, so it's still on the entertainment lines.